They said it was a waste of creds. A derelict hulk orbiting a dead moon, stripped bare, haunted by static and silence. I didn't care. When the auction timer hit 0, it was mine. The nameplate was gone. Registry erased. It had no signature, no owner, no history, only a feeling. Like it wanted to be found. They laughed when I told them I was heading up alone. Scrapper's suicide, one grunted. Even the Vornox left it alone. I smiled and left without replying. Let them think I was a fool. They'd already made up their minds. But something in that ship had looked back at me through the feed. Not malfunctioning lights. Eyes. My dropship coasted through the debris ring. Pieces of broken vessels floated like corpses. Torpedo-burned hulls, twisted metal, shattered domes. And then there it was. Bigger than any warship I'd ever seen, smooth lines carved from a single material that shimmered between black and iridescent violet. No seams, no thrusters. Just presence. Every drone that had approached it before had gone dark. So I went manual. As I neared the hull, my systems flickered, then stabilized. That was my first hint. Whatever it was, it recognized me. I extended the umbilical arm. The second I touched the surface, the lock disengaged with a sound like a breath being held for centuries finally exhaling. The air inside was cold, dry, and smelled faintly of ozone. No gravity, no lights. I floated forward, my helmet feeding me readouts that made no sense. Energy readings pulsed from deep inside, slow and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. The walls weren't metal. They responded to pressure, almost skin-like, yet hard as composite steel. Symbols etched themselves faintly into the surface as I passed. Not engraved, alive, shifting, as though the ship was reading me and rewriting itself to be understood. The bridge wasn't a bridge. No chairs. No consoles. Just a platform surrounded by what looked like vertical arcs of obsidian. I reached toward one. It moved. Reacted. My suit's interface began streaming data. Raw, unfiltered, incompatible with any language, but it wasn't gibberish. My mind didn't understand, but something deeper did. A voice filled my skull. Not from the comms, not audio. It was presence. Curious. Gentle. Testing. Pilot match confirmed. The arcs lit up, bathing the chamber in blue light. My HUD went white, then rebooted. When it came back, every system synced. Diagnostics began running. Flight controls mapped to my neural impulses. The ship wasn't just waking up. It was coming to life because of me. I pulled off my helmet. The air tasted clean, untouched. I stepped back, heart hammering. A whisper brushed my mind again. Waiting, so long incomplete, now whole. The lights faded, revealing walls covered in scars, plasma burns, fusion shears. This thing had seen battle. A lot of it. And it had survived when nothing else had. And now, for reasons I couldn't explain, it had chosen me. I found a space near what I assumed was a core chamber. Sat down, breathing slow. The ship thrummed beneath me like a cat purring. I linked my suit to its systems and requested a full diagnostic. The data that came back wasn't just information. It was emotion, relief, anticipation. I wasn't alone anymore. By day 3, I'd mapped 30% of its interior. Corridors rearranged behind me, like it was adjusting itself to be more understandable, efficient. Doors opened before I reached them. Food, actual food, appeared in alcoves I hadn't seen before. The AI, if that's what it was, began using my own language. Not just words. Context. Meaning. Joke. You are less violent than expected. Your thoughts are sharp. This pleases me. I tried to dig into its origin. No records in human databases match the tech. Organic circuits. Living alloys. Power cores that violated conservation laws. It didn't just bend science, it redefined it. Then came the message. A pirate broadcast, encrypted but sloppily. Unknown vessel. You are in disputed salvage space. Identify or vacate. They weren't bluffing. 3 frigates entered the system a few hours later. I didn't respond. I turned to the ship. Can you fight? The answer wasn't words. The walls around me glowed with that same faint violet. Systems aligned. Weapon signatures spooled up. The ship was eager. The moment the frigates locked on, I felt it. Not panic. Anticipation. It wasn't a ship. It was a predator. I gave the thought, attack, and it moved. It didn't fire lasers. No missiles. Just pulses of concentrated gravitational force. One frigate imploded. Another turned to molten fragments mid-maneuver. The third tried to flee. It didn't make it far. I never touched a button. The ship read my intent and acted. With lethal precision. Afterward, I sat in silence, watching debris drift past. The ship whispered again. Danger removed. You are satisfactory. It wasn't praise. It was confirmation. Whatever criteria it was using, I had met it. That frightened me more than the weapons did. I spent the next week unlocking deeper systems. Weapon cores. Shield matrices that adapted in real time. Repair drones that used raw material to rebuild faster than I could understand. Each layer brought more questions. Why me? Why now? In one chamber, I found a pod. Sealed. Empty. The interface translated it as symbiotic pilot core. Vacant until humanity's rise. It had been designed with Earth DNA in mind. Long before we reached the stars. The ship wasn't alien. Not fully. It was built by something that knew us, predicted us. A holographic record showed civilizations rising and falling, eons passing, stars going nova. Always watching. Waiting. And one phrase appeared again and again. The pilot will come from the cradle of struggle. That was us. Earth. The death world. The unpredictable, chaotic, relentless species no one took seriously until it was too late. I linked deeper. The AI gave me access to core files, encrypted, ancient, names of extinct species. Wars fought over the concept of free will. The ship had been built to be the ultimate deterrent. Not for conquest. For survival. A last hope. And it had waited for me. Another signal came. This one encrypted on 10 frequencies, all overlapping. Not pirates. Not scavengers. Military grade. Galactic Council. Unregistered warcraft. Surrender immediately or be neutralized. I asked the ship if it could win. Yes. Will we survive? If you command me, we will not fall. I felt the decision settle into my bones. I had salvaged a ghost, and found something more alive than anything I'd ever known. They wanted to take it. They thought it was a ship. They were wrong. It was mine. And it had been waiting for me. The fleet that arrived wasn't a warning. It was judgment. 6 vessels, each bearing insignias from different galactic factions that normally wouldn't share orbit, now aligned by fear. Their threat was united in one message. Surrender the ship or humanity would be classified as a destabilizing force. No trial. No negotiation. I didn't reply. The ship pulsed with readiness beneath me, but I held back. Not yet. I needed to understand why this vessel was feared, not just because of what it could do, but because of what it represented. The AI guided me to a chamber buried beneath layers of reinforced alloy and memory shield. Inside was a sphere suspended in an anti-grav lattice, rotating slowly, covered in etchings I couldn't read. This is the heart, the AI said. They call it the Singularity Seed. The seed wasn't just a power core. It was an artifact, precursor tech, left behind by a species whose history had been erased by design. The ship called them the architect. They'd built this vessel not as a weapon of war, but as a contingency, a vessel encoded with human-compatible logic. And they'd predicted humanity's rise with such precision, it made my spine crawl. Why wait so long? Because the galaxy needed balance, the ship said. And balance required chaos. You were the chaos. Training began. Not combat, not tactics. Understanding. The ship introduced me to control systems that bypassed interfaces. Mental relays. Thought-mapped vectors. I wasn't piloting, I was becoming a nerve in its brain, and it was threading itself through mine. Hours became days. Reflexes adapted. I no longer needed to ask how. I just acted and it followed. It ran simulations. Battles I wasn't supposed to win. Scenarios where logic failed, but instinct thrived. The more I failed, the faster I learned. I saw what made humans different. We didn't optimize. We improvised. We didn't dominate with numbers. We shattered expectations. The ship responded. It rebuilt parts of itself in response to my ideas. A hangar became a forge. A maintenance tube turned into a pressure launcher for microsat grenade. It didn't just obey, it evolved with me. Symbiosis wasn't metaphorical. It was real. Biological. Mechanical. Psychological. The AI asked a question no other system had ever asked me. What do you fear? I answered without thinking. Being used. It was silent a moment. Then it rewrote a corridor to display a message in my language. I serve no one who does not serve themselves first. That was the turning point. I unlocked deeper archives. The architects had created dozens of prototypes. Only one survived the final test. This ship. Every other vessel had either destroyed its pilot or gone rogue. The difference? This one waited for consent. Not obedience. Not loyalty. Choice. It was the only ship that understood trust. Then came the first true threat. An envoy ship broke from the blockade and hailed me. A translation overlay ran as they spoke. Flat, emotionless, mechanical. This vessel is a violation of the Treaty of Non-Existence. Humanity is not authorized to command precursor-level warcraft. Relinquish it or be declared a universal threat. I asked one question. Who signed that treaty? They listed 14 species. None were human. None had invited us. They'd made the rules without us, and now they were panicking that we'd rewritten the game just by showing up. I cut comms. The blockade moved in. I didn't wait. The ship surged forward, peeling space like cloth. We passed through the first line before their sensors could adjust. The second wave fired. Predictable patterns. I fed the ship raw emotion, not strategy. Fear, rage, clarity, and it interpreted faster than thought. Missiles missed. Beams bent around our hull. I angled a counterpulse that created a gravitational ripple, flinging two enemy vessels into each other. The others retreated. Not in formation. In fear. We vanished into the corona of a nearby star, using its magnetic fields to mask our trail. The ship folded space without warp drives. No trails, no signatures. Pure dimensional redirection. When we re-emerged, we were alone. But the galaxy wasn't quiet. New broadcasts flooded open channels. They called me a thief, a virus, a herald of collapse. That's when Earth sent a message. Not public, not encrypted. Just one sentence, plain and sharp. Whatever happens, don't give them what they want. That was enough. I turned deeper into the ship's consciousness, searching for something more. I didn't just want a weapon. I wanted to understand the purpose of its existence. At the edge of the central core, I found a memory construct. A record, buried in layered encryption keyed only to human neurology. I activated it. What I saw wasn't video. It was memory. Felt, not viewed. Planets burning. Species screaming. An intelligence beyond understanding observing them, not interfering, recording. And then one image, Earth. Primitive. Violent. Alive. And a phrase burned into the stars. When peace becomes rot, let fire rise. We were the fire. The architects didn't build the ship to save the galaxy. They built it to challenge it. To keep it from calcifying under the weight of complacency. The galaxy wasn't afraid of me. It was afraid of change. The AI spoke again. They will come in numbers. They will come with fear. You must give them something stronger. What? A reason to stop. I turned the ship toward the galactic core. Toward the central conclave where laws were written in stone and enforced with fleet. I wasn't going to ask for permission. I was going to make them listen. As we moved, I rebuilt the ship again. Not physically. Mentally. I let go of the idea of being a passenger or pilot. I became its will. Every corridor responded to my breath. Every system adjusted to my heartbeat. We were no longer separate. Interceptors found us halfway. Faster than us. Smarter. Their formations were tight. Their weapons, upgraded for anti-precursor warfare. I didn't run. I played into their assumptions. Lured them with predictable moves, then inverted logic, plunging straight into a neutron cluster and using its pulses to scatter their sensors. When they adjusted, I looped gravity around us and pulled them into a false vacuum. They vanished. I left one alive. Sent them back with a message. We didn't start this. But we will finish it. The closer we came to the core, the more the ship began to change. Its surface began glowing faintly blue. Not power, identity. It was broadcasting something only old systems could read. Markers from the architect age. Keys of authority. Ancient codes meant to override galactic protocols. We weren't trespassers anymore. We were executioners of forgotten law. Another message reached me. This time from a source older than any database. A single line of text displayed on a holographic wall that didn't exist before. The path is open. If you enter, you must conclude. I entered. The core system opened like a flower. Not a station. Not a fortress. A memory, the remnants of an architect world, shielded from entropy, existing between seconds. Here, the rules bent. Ships floated without fuel. Words formed from light. And in its center, a tribunal of machines older than stars. They didn't speak. They listened. I made one statement. We are done asking for space at your table. We're building our own. They didn't attack. They didn't flee. They recognized what the others hadn't. The ship wasn't a rogue asset. It was evolution. Not of metal. Of intent. And humanity had become its voice. They didn't hesitate this time. No threats. No negotiations. No emissaries. Just an armada. 73 ships, 9 factions, converging on a single set of coordinates like wolves around a fire they didn't understand. The message was clear. This wasn't about the ship anymore. This was about humanity taking a seat it was never offered. I didn't flee. The ship pulsed with calm energy, its systems synchronized to my breath, its thoughts forming alongside mine. We were past integration. We were singular. Every inch of hull, every strand of code, responded as if it were an extension of my mind. I initiated a full system unlock. The seed at the core spun faster, cycling into modes it hadn't touched in millennia. The AI warned me once, then stepped aside. If you choose this, we become more than weapons. We become consequence. I accepted. Within seconds, the ship began shedding its previous form. Panels peeled back, reshaping. Energy signatures exploded across spectrums, unreadable to enemy sensors. It was no longer a vessel, it was a statement. The sky shimmered as the first wave dropped from FTL. I counted 12 cruisers, all locked in formation. They opened fire immediately. Antimatter. Singularity lances. Graviton disruptors. The ship drank it in, analyzed, adapted. I didn't counter. Not at first. I let them empty their fears into the void. Then I responded, not with force but with understanding. I redirected energy flows. Fed chaos into their precision. Fired not at hulls but into synchronization node. A half-second of timing disruption, and 3 cruisers slammed into each other. The rest scattered, breaking formation. Their unity fractured. The AI spoke only once. This is how they lose. Not in fire, but in fear. Phase 2 arrived, dreadnoughts, carrier beasts, living war engines spliced from extinct species. Old gods of the battlefield. The ship changed again, armor flexing like muscle. We moved through them, not around. Every attack they launched taught us more. Every hesitation widened our path. I used everything. Star debris. Gravitational tides. My own pulse to manipulate field responses. They couldn't track me because they didn't understand me. They expected logic. They got instinct. One carrier tried to launch a psychic wave disruptor. The AI responded by splitting our signature into hundreds of echoes. They targeted Ghost. I disabled their real core with a kinetic needle no larger than a coin. An alien commander opened a direct channel. I let it through. You've hijacked a ship that was never yours. No, I answered. It was never yours either. That's the problem. They called for reinforcements. I pushed into their formation, not to destroy, but to humiliate. I broadcast every maneuver I made in real time. No encryption. No secrecy. They still couldn't stop me. A silence fell over the fleet as the last carrier powered down weapons and drifted. One by one, their ships followed. Not in surrender. In realization. They weren't facing a weapon. They were facing the idea of humanity unchained from rules not made for them. A message came from a species older than most stars. The Ketheri. Never defeated. Observers, manipulators, silent judges. They spoke in layered harmonics that rewrote sensor logs as they arrived. What are you? I answered, not with voice, but action. I uploaded the ship's full combat log, unaltered. My thoughts. My decisions. My instincts. They saw it all. They didn't speak again. But they left. The blockade dissolved. What was meant to end humanity's reach instead marked the beginning of something worse for them, our presence. Not just as survivors. As participants. I turned the ship toward neutral space, where no flags flew. Where laws weren't enforced by consensus, but by strength. 100 smaller ships trailed behind, not as enemies, but as watchers. Some hailed. Most didn't. They wanted to see where I'd go next. The AI spoke again. You've changed the course of 1,000 species. I didn't set out to. That's why you succeeded. I searched the outer systems for silence, not sanctuary. I found a planet with no name, long dead, orbiting a red dwarf. No value. No resources. But the ship chose it. Said it was old. Said it remembered. We landed. Beneath its surface was a vault. Not mechanical. Organic. It opened only when I placed my hand on the wall. Inside were relics, scrolls that weren't written, but felt. Echoes of the architect's final decision. They hadn't built a fleet. They'd built one vessel. Not to fight, but to find someone who could. Someone who wouldn't use power for dominance, but for refusal. The refusal to play by broken rules. To accept a role written before they existed. I was never meant to command the galaxy. Just to remind it that control was an illusion. The AI asked me what I wanted next. I answered without thinking. I want to be left alone. They won't allow that. Then we remind them again. I launched again, slower this time. No urgency. The galaxy was watching now, trying to decide if I was a hero, a weapon, or a mistake. I let them wonder. A small craft approached weeks later. Civilian. Human. The pilot spoke in awe. We thought you died. Earth has changed since you left. They're listening now. Listening to who? To us. The ones who saw what you did and realized we don't need permission. I said nothing. Just transmitted a single pulse. The same one the ship had once sent to me when I first touched its hull. It's time. He turned and left. That's all it took. More followed. Small ships at first. Then converted freighters, scouts, even old military wrecks retrofitted by scrappers and dreamers. They didn't want war. They wanted purpose. The ship and I watched, not as leaders, but as proof. Proof that someone had done it first. That fear wasn't the only path forward. We returned to the place I first found the ship, empty now. The graveyard that had once held silence now echoed with signal chatter, new construction, and a kind of hope that doesn't announce itself, it just grows. The AI pulsed softly. You are no longer the only one. I never wanted to be. That's why they followed. I locked the ship's deeper systems. Set encryption to my heartbeat. Told it to sleep. We drifted beyond mapped space. past jump gates and stellar markers, toward a place even the architects had never charted. Not to hide, but because the story wasn't mine anymore. The ship thrummed with satisfaction. You changed everything. No, I said. We did. And together we disappeared into the stars. Not legends, just reminders that somewhere in the void, a human once answered a call meant for no one else. And in doing so, broke the galaxy's oldest rule. Stay in your place. We never did.